This news update is brought to you by
Grab somebody and tell them hello. Your happiness will be connect to flow. Smile and cheer because that is we flow. Grab somebody and tell them hello. With your hands in the air, hands in the air, hands in the air, hands in the air. This is how we flow, yeah. Grab somebody and tell them this is how we flow.
It's Friday, August the 28th, 2015, and this is your Barbados Today morning news update. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Thanks for joining us. We begin with news that Barbados will be working with the locally based Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, or SEDEMA, in assisting neighboring Dominica, which was severely pounded by Tropical Storm Erica when it passed through the region yesterday, leaving death and destruction. Home Affairs Minister Adriel Brathwaite confirmed that helicopters will be flying into Dominica today to render help. In a separate interview with Barbados Today, Executive Director of the SEDEMA, Ronald Jackson, said about 3 helicopters would be making air reconnaissance trips. Jackson said support damage assessment teams would also be going in today. He said an initial emergency grant of $200,000 had been requested for immediate relief, but more would be required for medium and longer-term purposes.
Beyond that, there are amounts that can be made available in terms of an emergency loan for infrastructure cleanup, and beyond that, then it goes into more reconstruction support. The additional resources can be made available through our donor coordination mechanism, but that will be looked at in the context of more and better information on the damage assessment. So we are hoping that out of the team's deployment tomorrow, we are able to begin to harvest better particulars on the damage and to share this with the donor coordination mechanism which we have in place to see what additional support can be brought to bear to assist.
With unconfirmed reports emerging yesterday of an unnamed construction company on the verge of bankruptcy, major players in the sector are lamenting the difficulty they face in trying to keep staff employed. Investigations by Barbados Today reveal that while at least one of those large firms plans to lay off about half a dozen employees within the next 4 to 6 weeks due to a lack of work, most of the bigger players said they were doing everything necessary either to keep layoffs at a minimum or to hold onto their staff as long as practicable. Describing the current state of affairs in the industry as a tale of woe, Chief Personnel Officer with the JADA Group, Paul Lewis, told Barbados Today his company was on the hunt for more new jobs as existing projects on which it was working wound down. He said the company was moving to consolidate by keeping everybody busy in an attempt to keep layoffs at a minimum. Roughly Construction also confirmed that, like counterparts across the industry, it too was facing challenging times despite recording a turnaround in fortunes recently. However, Human Resource Manager Tamara Allman told Barbados Today the company was taking all necessary steps not to send home workers at this time. Richards Construction's Director of Operations for Human Resources, Herbert Hayward, said his company had been laying off people over time based on the available projects.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Secure your future, be financially strong. Since 1983, we have been there for you. A smart range of products, great tax benefits. We're the solution to your hopes and your dreams. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. The Barbados Workers Union Cooperative Credit Union. Humble beginnings to smart loans, smart savings. Save smart and borrow cool bank spare. None of them others just can't compare. You just got to love that taste. It's the world-class thing this land makes. Whether I'm cruising or at a bar, whether I'm at home, my bank spare is never far. For this blessing, got to give God thanks. My Barbados, my banks.
Turning now to the region, St. Lucia is reacting to an alleged leaked document from the CARICOM Marijuana Commission. It recommends that regional governments consider decriminalizing of the substance and permit the development of a marijuana industry for medicinal and commercial purposes. One local activist is demanding more transparency.
The news broke over the past weekend of a 2014 report from the CARICOM Marijuana Commission, which supposedly calls for regional governments to consider the decriminalization of smaller quantities of the substance. A former chairman of the St. Lucia cannabis movement told Newsforce on Wednesday the efforts to suppress recommendations in the report indicate strong political influence.
As you can see, this was political because they had a body allegedly that directed the leaders and said, hey, this is the correct thing to do. And there was a rejection by the leaders. And who are the leaders? Politicians. So it boils right down to politics and personal opinions, not science.
According to the Caribbean Collective for Justice, other recommendations are for regional governments to permit the development of a marijuana industry for medicinal purposes and explore any commercial benefit from a potential multi-billion-dollar industry, including research and development and also production of medicinal marijuana products.
On the campaign trail in Trinidad, the Congress of the People is blaming the political leader of the People's National Movement, Dr. Keith Rowley, for the group of COP defectors that turned up at his party's campaign meeting in San Juan on Tuesday to demonstrate support for the PNM. In a press release issued yesterday, the COP said it was Dr. Rowley's desperate attempt to claim popular leadership. The COP said the handful of defectors were mainly people who had resigned from the party months ago but donned party T-shirts to stage a TV event. On the international scene, net migration to Britain has gone up 40% a year, reaching the highest level on record. Immigration Minister James Brockenshire has described the data as deeply disappointing. The details in this ITV News report.
5 years of promises that net migration would be driven down to below 100,000. Instead, today's official figures put the number at a record 330,000. Victor Spirescu clocks on at a construction site in southwest London. A Romanian who's been working here for the last 18 months.
If you are a hard worker, it's all right. If you come here to access the benefits, you don't win nothing.
2 days after reporter Alison Parker and her cameraman Adam Ward were gunned down on live television in Virginia, Parker's father Andy Parker has pledged to carry out a crusade against just anybody being able to buy a gun until such a legal provision was revised. The shooter, Vestely Flanagan, produced a real live murder show that he choreographed in detail. In a ranting note sent to ABC News before shooting himself to death, Flanagan blamed his misery on black men and white women and said he was somewhat racist against whites and blacks and Latinos. But Parker's father said crazy people like Flanagan should not be allowed to own a gun.
Look, I'm for the Second Amendment, but there has to be a way to force politicians that are cowards and in the pockets of the NRA to come to grips and make sense, have sensible laws so that crazy people can't get guns. It can't be that hard. And yet politicians from the local level to the state level to the national level, they sidestep the issue, they kick the can down the road. This can't happen anymore.
And finally, this story with sport in it. But that is certainly far from sport when you hear that Floyd Money Mayweather reportedly made over $300 million from beating Manny Pacquiao in the richest fight in boxing history in May. But that's not the real story. The real story is that Money Mayweather has already splashed out $4.8 million of that money on a new car. Yes, a new car. No stranger to flashing the cash in the past. This week, the 38-year-old world boxing champion, the best paid on the planet, unveiled the latest edition of his multi-million collection of motors, the Koenigsegg CCRX Trevita. Billed as a hypercar, supposedly superior to a supercar, it was Mayweather's chosen mode of transport for his journey to the Mayweather Boxing Club Wednesday for his latest training session ahead of his September 12th fight against Andre Berto at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Well, if he drives a $4.8 million car to the office, wonder what he'll use to take him to that fight next month. The answer is all in the money. And that's where we end our Barbados Today morning news update. However, you can join us again this afternoon. Until then, remember to log on to www.barbadostoday.bb, subscribe to our e-paper and email updates, or like us on Facebook. You can also catch us on Izumi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. Also tune in to Channel 101 on Flow TV and Mix 96.9 FM to get all the latest news and sports. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic day.